Hey everybody, welcome to Skills on Sunday for August 16th, 2020. I'm your host, DM Gallibond. Alright everybody, this week on Skills on Sunday, we are going to take a look at the performance feat and its history in D&D. This is one that goes back a long way, but it's kind of interesting how it's put together in 5th edition. All right, let's go ahead and get on with the show here. Performance is a charisma check in 5th edition, a skill that's tied to your charisma, and it determines how well you can delight an audience with music, dance, acting, storytelling, or some other form of entertainment. And of course, it doesn't have to be a formal audience. It doesn't have to be a stage. It's just sort of how well can you perform something, like if you and a member of your party are going to act out some kind of dramatic uh, dramatic incident in order to draw the attention of a crowd, so that maybe your somebody else in your party can go off and do something with less notice than they might otherwise have. You could say that you could do a performance check to sort of draw their attention and see how enraptured that they are with that. Um, so it doesn't have to be a formal type of setting. And notice in 5th edition, it encompasses a lot of different disciplines: music, dance, acting, storytelling, and other forms of entertainment. So that could be things like juggling. Um, juggling, that would it be juggling? Or would that be an acrobatics? That probably would be an acrobatics, which is a dexterity. So, yeah, it would sort of depend. I guess there are some things where it kind of draws the line, and maybe if you're just that kind of DM, if somebody tells you that they really want to do something elaborate, and it feels like, well, it's both a performance and a feat of, um, a feat of physical skill, then maybe not only do they have to make a performance check, but they also have to make, depending on what it is, either an athletics check or a acrobatics check. All right, so let us take a look back at the original rules of D&D. And we're going to start by looking at the skills list. We don't actually look at the skills list itself much, but in the 1st edition skills, they do have a bunch of charisma skills, and it includes acting, music, singing, and storytelling. And so those 4 are all really parts of the performance skill in 5th edition. So let's take a look at each one of those. So acting, ability to make one's living as a stage actor, but it's the ability to also assume a different personality or show false emotions. And successful use of this skill allows a character to tell convincing lies over a limited period of time. Then music, choose the type. Okay, so this skill allows a character to play one group of related instruments in a skilled manner. Player chooses a group of instruments that his character knows, and the character can take the skill several times in order to know multiple instrument. Groups include stringed instruments, brass, percussion, woodwinds, etc. This skill is often taken in conjunction with the singing skill. So you have those as a you have that as a different skill that you could use. And of course, the difference in 5th edition is that you have proficiency with certain types of instruments. So that would be where you would get to add your proficiency bonus to a performance check. All right, so singing. What about singing? Singing and storytelling. The ability to sing in a skilled manner. A character can make his living with his skill, and if he's good enough, can become a famous entertainer or bard. Um, Now, this is interesting. And they use this bard in the classic sense of a bard, which um, in medieval times, bards were more like troubadours. They were sort of traveling entertainers, and they served actually kind of a social function because when they would go to a town and they would entertain people in that town, they would also pick up the news of everything that was going on in that town. And then as they went to the next town, they would pass along the news of what they had learned in the towns before. So they were not only traveling entertainers, but they were sort of um, helped to spread the news of what was happening in a region. And they actually would oftentimes um, set that news to music. And so you would have, kind of the origin of the story song would be, by putting it to music. If you think about it, most people may have a hard time memorizing a poem, a piece of poetry that is spoken. But if you really like a song, even if it's a relatively long song with relatively complicated lyrics, something like, Blinded by the Light, penned by the great Bruce Springsteen, or like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan, or Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, or something like that, uh, it's fairly easy to remember all the lyrics because the music has cues that you think about the lyrics that go along with the cues in the music. And so these old time bards that were traveling around in the Middle Ages, they knew that sort of memory trick as well. And so by setting the news of each town to music, it made it easier to memorize and repeat that when they would perform it in the next town. All right, and then finally we have storytelling. And this is the ability to captivate an audience when telling stories. Character can earn his living as a teller of stories, also has knowledge, skills of such things as histories, and he can be a storyteller of history. So this would be somebody kind of like um, think of a storyteller kind of like a Homer type character who would tell these elaborate oral tales. And, we are told by scholars that the Iliad and the Odyssey, those big, huge, long, multi-chapter, multi-volume stories about the heroes, those originated as oral um, oral works. Homer never wrote those down. He repeated them orally, and then other people learned them and repeated them, and it was only after telling and retelling and retelling and retelling that they were finally written down. Now, um, I don't even know in the scholarship whether Homer is the person that they think actually wrote it down the first time, or whether they think Homer is the person who originated and somebody else eventually wrote it down. And if you're a scholar of that kind of stuff, put it in the comments below. I'd just be curious if you know the origin of that. All right. So then this all performance type of thing, that all went away. First edition, second edition. Popped back up in third edition. Now it is the perform skill. And this is an example of how you have micro building blocks of skills in third edition. So the perform skill, you are skilled in a type of artistic expression, which may encompass a variety of specific methods, and you know how to put on a show. So like craft, knowledge, and profession, perform is actually a number of separate skills. For instance, you could have the skill perform act. Your ranks in that skill don't affect any checks you happen to make for perform oratory or perform string instruments. You could have several perform skills, each with its own ranks, each purchased as a separate skill. So all the 9 categories and a variety of methods, instruments, and techniques, and a small list is provided for each category below. So you can act comedy, drama, mime, comedy, buffoonery, limericks, joke telling, dance, ballet, waltz, jig, keyboard instruments, harpsichord, piano, pipe organ. See, so they consider that like you might take um, a skill of perform act, and then um, you might actually uh, your DM might be the kind of DM that would say, well, okay, what kind of acting do you do? Well, I do comedy. All right, so when you do comedy, you get to use your full skill. If you're going to try to do a drama, you get a little, maybe you have a penalty or something like that. So this is where sometimes it just gets a little ridiculous with the way they did skills in third edition. So comedy, buffoonery, limericks, joke telling, dance, ballet, waltz, jig, keyboard instruments, harpsichord, piano, pipe organ, oratory, epic, ode, storytelling. Um, then percussion instruments, bells, chimes, drums or gongs, string instruments, fiddle, harp, lute, mandolin, wind instruments, flute, panpipes, recorder, shawn, and trumpet, and singing, ballad, chant, or melody. And then you can impress an audience with your talent and skill, and then your performance check uh, results in actually how much you can make from an audience. So routine performance, it's trying to beg, so you can make 1d10 copper per day. An enjoyable performance in a prosperous city, 1d10 silver per day. With a 20, it's a great performance. So 3d10 silver per day, and in time, you might be invited to join a professional troupe. Memorable performance, 1 to 6 gold pieces per day. And you might come to the attention of noble patrons and develop a national reputation. And 30, extraordinary performance. Prosperous city, you can earn 3d6 gold per day. You may draw the attention of distant potential patrons or even extraplanar beings. So, masterwork musical instruments give you a +2 circumstance bonus on performed checks involving its use. Actions varies. Trying again, retries, but they don't negate previous failures. Um, and then special, a bard must have 3 ranks in a perform skill to inspire courage in his allies or use his counter song or his fascinate ability. And a bard needs 6 ranks in a perform skill to inspire competence, 9 ranks to use suggestion ability. See, now this is where we get into um, how these skills actually work with other mechanical features of classes. Now in 5th edition, when you reach a certain level, you get a certain feature. You don't have to do anything except have a certain level. And you might have a prerequisite of an ability score. It has to be a certain level. But um, in 3rd edition, not only did you have to have the level to use the feature, but you had to have invested the skill points in perform in order to be able to use that feature. So it's this is kind of where it gets kind of all micro, uh, wiggity whacked in 3rd edition. And some people like that stuff. I just think it's too, Mickey Mouse, kind of foolishness to do that sort of thing. So it's like those people who believe that this is the right way to do it. You're just wrong. You have the wrong opinion. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Um, but when we get to the history of D&D and we play a 3rd edition thing, you better believe I will enforce these rules and I will make the players do it just so they can see how it worked in that particular edition, because I think it's instructive and interesting to know how these things worked. And then, of course, in 4th edition, we don't have the particular perform skill or the other constituent skills like you have in the original D&D. All right, well, that is going to do it for our look at performance today. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. Click on the post notification bell so that you get notified about all of the videos that we post on the channel. You have any thoughts on the performance skill, please leave it in the comments below. If you've used the performance skill to great effect, you have a good story about it from one of your games, I'd love to read that in the comments. Also, go ahead and look in the description. You'll find out how to follow me on all of my social media platforms. Thank you, everybody who has helped us get to affiliate on our Twitch channel. We're pushing for certification on our YouTube. We just want to keep growing our subscriber base. We want to push that up. We want to push up the number of views so you can spread the information about the channel to anybody that you wish. That would really be great. And follow on social media. Please leave questions. I'll try to answer them. Leave comments. If you have any suggestions for things that you'd like us to do in future segments, you can take a look at all of the playlists that we have for each daily topic that we do and leave some comments on those videos. All right, thank you very much. That is going to do it for me. And just want to wish everybody good night.